Hey everyone. I promised I wouldn't talk about this again, and here I am. This Kawhi Leonard Clippers situation is getting kind of spicy, and I promised I would mind my business, but I like talking about business, so let's go ahead. Now, I saw this interesting article by The Athletic, also part of the New York Times, and I thought we should go over it together. Um, I'm gonna lean over, but you should like and subscribe. I had it written behind me, but I had to change the camera angle. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like basketball. But I'm gonna warn you. I'm a basketball fanatic that's going through a crisis. I currently just don't like the NBA anymore because of all this foolishness, and I'm venturing into other things, acting, entertainment. So consider this place a channel where you can get everything sports and entertainment, I think. All right. So let's go on. This article, if the NBA can prove the Clippers evaded the cap, Adam Silver should hammer them, but it may be tough. Written by The Athletic. I personally, again, I'm going to agree only because I do believe it affected the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, again, people are saying or should tell me, and I will agree that I should be happy that the Oklahoma City Thunder got some draft picks and got SGA out of this. We ultimately did win a championship, but I do believe the Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers move triggered Paul George to leave our team, and I thought Paul George was great on Oklahoma City. Hands down, the best year for me seeing him actually play, where he felt at home and he was with Russell Westbrook and was doing his thing. And if we had 1 or 2 more years, maybe we would have still had a ring. But I'm grateful for the ring that we have now. So let's move on to the article and see what they have to say. So this was written by Jason Lloyd. And it goes like this: if the NBA can collect enough evidence against the Los Angeles Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, proving he did indeed circumvent the salary cap regarding Kawhi Leonard's contract, then the commissioner, Adam Silver, has no choice but to throw every hammer in his bag at the Clippers. A fine in millions, all right? A fine in millions, loss of draft picks, and even voiding the remaining 2 years and $100 million on Leonard's deal. Now it's rough. That's rough. That's rough. And I'm not gonna say that like I agree with this 100%, but I do believe in hammers being thrown just because of the repercussions that this trade had. How did they get Kawhi Leonard to come to the Clippers? Maybe he just, I mean, everybody likes LA. Everybody likes LA, but the result of Paul George going to him to Clippers just to play with Kawhi Leonard, to me has always been very questionable, because why would Paul George do such a thing and him and Kawhi basically play the same position? I never understood why Paul George would choose to play with Kawhi given that they have the same position. And it ultimately worked. It affected the Thunder, and at the time I was devastated. But it worked out. Let's continue. Again, this article says a fine in millions, loss in draft picks, and perhaps even voiding the 2 remaining years on his $100 million contract. I don't know what would happen after that. Like, where would he go? Would he just be banned from the NBA? You can't just void his contract. But according to Jason Lloyd, we're a long way from that point. The reality is we might never get there, despite the evidence revealed by Pablo Torre's recent podcast episode, and Pablo Torre finds out. The league announced this week it will be launching another investigation into Leonard and the Clippers. This is at least the second peek into their business practices after the league poked around in 2019 and found no evidence of wrongdoing. Tory certainly did his part opening new paths to explore. Yet my first reaction upon hearing the new investigation was simply, who will hear the evidence? Will Ballmer be brought before a jury of his peers? Good questions. What would happen if they did find evidence? And I don't think he's going to be brought in front of a jury of his peers because let's be realistic. Business dealings happens all the time, and I'm not saying that the whole league is doing things like the Clippers, but like there might be some other situations where you, in order to entice a player to come to their team, there's some other things brought to the table that may intrigue the player. Mostly money making opportunities. I mean, that's what they're really truly at this level for. I know the love of the game is there, but at this level, we all are. They all are in it for the money. So let's go to the next paragraph. The most compelling question is, what burden of proof must be met before the action is taken against Ballmer? Right? What is the threshold of evidence? This isn't a court of law. This is the court of Adam Silver. Well, I mean, I think those answers are clear. Okay, those answers are clear. The burden of proof is just showing that there was involvement with Ballmer and this company in a little bit more of a manner than Ballmer is admitting to, and that he and it doesn't have to be like he's the president or on the board, but like this even an email just saying, yo, send this money is the burden of proof, to be honest. But what do I know? The collective bargaining agreement. Let's move on to the next section. So they said the collective bargaining agreement explicitly states that a violation of cap circumvention may be proven by direct or circumstantial evidence. Like I said, maybe an email, including but not limited to evidence that the player contract or any term provision thereof cannot rationally be explained in the absence of conduct. That appears to give Silver a fair amount of runway should he choose to take it, because what Torre uncovered is absolutely circumstantial evidence. Damn, I feel bad just reading this, because what else? I mean, what we know about this is that he was given a $28 million contract to do what with this company? What were you doing? He did nothing. He doesn't do anything really. So yeah, this is a already open and shut case. So the article goes into NFL situations where the NFL had to do investigations internally, but ultimately it does come down to Adam Silver. So let's skip down to the part of the article where they talk about Goodell. All right, still Goodell holds the final authority, and verdicts don't always follow case precedent. When the Cleveland Browns traded quarterback Deshaun Watson in 2022, knowing Watson faced 20 civil cases of sexual misconduct related to massages, the Browns pursued him, believing he was likely facing a suspension ranging from 4 to 6 games. Indeed, Robinson's initial ruling was six games based on precedent. She believed it was the swiftest penalty she could administer under the league's policy. Goodell, perhaps sensing the growing public vitriol against Watson and ultimately the NFL Shield, had the authority to appeal Robinson's ruling under the collective bargaining agreement. Watson was ultimately suspended for 11 games. So I mean, going back to the beginning of the article, it seems like Jason Lloyd is saying that Kawhi would be suspended for 2 years from the league if you want to void his contract, because who would then touch him? I mean, look, and I feel like other teams will still pick him up, but like, this is like an unprecedented thing. So, um, let's continue. Of course, none of that applies to the owners, who are essentially bosses of the league commissioner. So that's, I just want to be clear that the owners of the league, the team owners, are actually Adam Silver's boss. So, like, I don't expect anything. I don't expect anything to happen because these are his bosses. This is kind of like a community, a network, a group of people. Like, you're not gonna snitch on yourselves or each other. It's a tight knit thing. So, I mean, this sounds kind of down, but I don't expect anything to happen. Let's continue though. Steve is really intelligent. One of the front office executive told me this week. I don't believe he's dumb enough to wire $50 million to a company just to have that company turn around and give it to Kawhi. I don't believe it. What do you, what I mean, how is that not believable though? No, and I'm not saying anything against Ballmer, just in general. This country, the businesses do crazy things, but they all are within rationale if it works to their benefit. So how would you not be able to believe that? Anyway, the details at the root of the league's investigation will be the $28 million contract Tory uncovered that now bankrupt fintech company Aspiration held with Leonard seemingly no work. Tory learned that Ballmer partially funded Aspiration with $50 million investment in 2021. Less than 2 weeks later, the Clippers announced its $300 million partnership with the same company. Players striking up relationships with team sponsors isn't unusual. Steph has been the brand ambassador for JP Morgan since 2016. The same company owns the naming rights to the Golden State Warriors arena. However, a sum of $7 million a year from Aspiration to Leonard seems a bit exorbitant for a figure seems a bit exorbitant for such a deal, and one the Clipper or Leonard might struggle explaining away, particularly since Tory reported that Leonard provided no services to the company. Though Leonard gave the version of the events in a Thursday night sit down with ESPN, this doesn't seem at all normal and certainly an arrangement worthy of investigation. One thing that Ballmer did do during this interview, because I saw it myself, is that he denied any connection and said that what they did was make an introduction of Aspiration to Kawhi, but after an introduction, like, what do? You let the people do business together and you step away. And I've seen other articles where Ballmer says, yeah, like, I feel embarrassed about being duped by Aspiration. But again, the NBA should fraudulent slip, right? The NBA should investigate. I feel like they'll ultimately ignore this whole thing. That being said, shout out to everybody who supported the channel. Let's keep our eyes peeled about this. I'm sure we won't hear much more. Not that I don't believe in the NBA or Adam Silver, but again, the owners are his bosses. Steve Ballmer is his boss. And I'm not going to say Adam Silver has soft skin or isn't tough. But this would be the biggest, craziest ending if that happened. Like, so many different penalties would be given to the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer. I think the fallout from this alone would give the league apprehension from even moving forward. Not that it's right, But what can you do? Anyway, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. Peace.